Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm here at North Parramatta, and I've been wanting to come through these grounds over many years. This is an old cemetery named the St Patrick's Catholic Cemetery, and it's been around since 1822. So well over 150 years. So what I'll do is come through here. Hopefully there'll be a gate on the other side where I can get out onto Church Street. But what we'll do is we'll do a walk and talk as we walk through this very old historic gravesite and go through a book summary. And the book summary that I have today is entitled Woke Incorporated, Woke Inc., by an author named Vivek Ramaswamy. So this book is all about woke economics and how people are making a fortune out of focusing on wokeness. And what we'll do is we'll delve into it to understand it a little bit more, because it's one of those things that seems to be overwhelming and overpowering our society, where we all of a sudden spend a lot more time doing things or focusing on things that are popular as opposed to focusing on the things that we grew up knowing were right and were conservative and were the basis and foundation of our culture. But we've got to a point now where we're overwhelmed with populist governments, populist parties, and people and corporations who basically just want to focus on being popular more so than anything else, in order to leverage that popularity and attach their names and their products and their activities to, so that they can benefit and their shareholders and stakeholders can benefit as well. So I'm not sure where I'm going, but I think I'll just go around the side here and hopefully end up down the bottom there on Church Street. Can't see too many cars down there, but we'll eventually get there. Hopefully we can get there before it's too dark. But I can't see any path going through down to the bottom road there. Let me go a little bit further and we'll make our way around. So wokeness is a powerful weapon for CEOs, is what the author tells us here. Because what we're saying here is that CEOs can readily deploy this woke smokescreen to distract from greedy, fraudulent and malfeasance practices. So what the author here is saying is that a lot of businesses are using woke arguments to basically use it as something that they hide behind in order to deliver their real purpose, which is to make money and to do it under the smokescreen of wokeness, where they virtue signal, they attach themselves to things which taste, smell, look, feel really cool and popular, and use that in order to hide their activities and get by with few people realizing what they've been up to. So the author here goes on to say that the best place to profit is from controversial social causes. No longer are corporations and organisations seen as being the corporate citizen that supports the Christian movement and the Christian church. So much so that these days, if you hold those values, if you dare suggest that you're a Christian and you follow the Christian creed, people look at you and as if you're from another planet. But let's continue. I'm all caught up here. Let me go round and round and find my way out, because there is a fence which goes around this property, so I may have to do the full circuit at some point. But what this book does here, what this author does in this book, is we explore how people and companies turn charities into marketing, and they profit from it. As we said before, there are examples, lots and lots of examples around us, and we have it in our social circle as well. I've been noticing over the past decade or so that for most people these days, their social life, their entire social life revolves around the charity circuit, going from one charity event to another, forking out money left, right and centre to stay connected with other people, to stay within a social orbit. It just costs lots and lots of money, and it all comes under the responsibility of thinking that you're doing the right thing to support all these different charities and events, which incidentally should be managed and paid for by the government. But for some reason, I don't know what's happened, but all of a sudden there are all these charities, all these separate charities that are springing up left, right and centre, where people are just doing the right thing, calling on their friends, calling on their family, calling on their social circle. But it's got to the point now where unless you're connected to this charity social group and social environment, then you're basically invisible and you don't have people to connect with. Very rarely these days do we get invited out just to go out for a drink, go out for a bite to eat. These days, for most of us, our social life revolves around some sort of event, some sort of money raising event, which I'm not saying is wrong, but what I'm saying is I've realised and I've identified that things have dramatically changed over the past decade or so, or it could be just for my sort of age group. Anyway, I'll head back. It is getting a bit dark, so it's not a nice place to be, I don't think, at this time of day. But we've got a lot of old tombs. Let's just have a look at a couple of these. Can't even see the dates on them. Yeah, I can't even see the dates on them. They're so old. These headstones are just so old. We've got one over here. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, I can't read it. Anyway, I'll come here one day when it's light, and we'll just go through and try and identify some of the names. It's very interesting though, walking through one of these old cemeteries. Where back in the day, each suburb had its cemetery, usually surrounding a church, like they did in Greece. Anyway, here's the gate. I'll go outside and I'll continue my vlog. As I'm walking home, I've just taken my car, or should I say I've just taken Paula's car for a service. and I dropped it off because tomorrow morning it's my birthday, and I'll be doing other things. So I just dropped it off, and now I'll just walk home. It's probably a 6 or 7k walk, but we'll make the most of it. So the first formal point to come from this author, from this book, is where the author says here that corporations use their woke culture to pursue their lucrative goals. I've worked for many corporations. I've worked for some of the biggest and best leaders in their fields, and it never ceases to surprise me how they latch on to popular ideas and then attach their brands to them, and whatever is trending is the sorts of things that they chase after, and they chase hard after. But it's interesting to understand that the things that are trending, the things that are popular, aren't conservative values, aren't conservative views. We're talking about alternate views, alternate lifestyles, alternate ways of living and ways of seeing the world. And this, in turn, I guess takes us on a path away from the way that we grew up and the conservative values that we all enjoyed. So what we're saying here is that corporations go out of their way to latch onto these woke ideas and woke groups because they know that they can get validation from the in-groups, from the in-group dinner parties, if they're attached to things that the middle classes talk about, the ones who are the virtue signals, the ones who are comfortable, they've achieved whatever they want to achieve in life, and now they just want to virtue signal and take the moral high ground wherever they can to try and add value, or add value in a way which they think they're adding value. So the term woke is a borrowed term. I didn't know this, but it's a borrowed term from the black community in America, who used to say, stay woke, stay awake, and stay alert to racism. And what has happened is the woke brigade, the woke community, have picked up on this term, on this concept, and they've, I guess, misappropriated it to use it for gender discrimination and other parallel activities, which are interesting to say the least. So what we're saying here is that you can make some serious money. You can make a lot of leverage by getting on the bandwagon, by getting on the green energy bandwagon, by getting on the climate catastrophe bandwagon, because these things are trending at the moment, trending for various reasons. A lot of the key reasons would be that they're trending because there are people, there are corporations who are using them in order to springboard their products and services and making something extremely popular just for the sake of it being popular, so that they can, as I say, ride on its coattails and join the bandwagon. So let's continue along here. So as we're saying from this book, corporations love to attach their brand to the hottest trends. And we've got friends who are very, very similar. You know, they'll pick up the lingo, they'll post about certain things, you know, whatever is the flavour of the month. And they're, you know, like weather vanes. They're pro this one month, they're pro something else the other month. They're into this, they're into that, swapping friendships, swapping social circles, and just going on the roundabout, so to speak. So corporations, just like people, love to attach themselves to their brands to the hottest trends, but they do it for their own ends and not in any way for an honourable cause. Because at the end of the day, most people do what they do to serve their own interests, to feather their own nest, to promote, their own family members, their own business. You see it time and time again, people who sponsor things, they don't sponsor things because they absolutely love them. They don't sponsor things to make a positive difference or an impact. They do it with a purpose, and that purpose is an ulterior purpose to promote themselves, promote their products, promote their organisation, or to promote some other ideal, some other cause that they have, some other parallel cause that they want to use. And what they do is, as we said, they ride on the coattails of this woke current. They catch the current, they swim with the current, and wherever it leads them, they go. And they go there not to benefit anybody else other than themselves, according to this author. So what eventually happens is that at some point in time, they showcase their wokeness in a political way. How many times do we know, or how many times have we seen people coming into a social circle being all nice, being all this and being all that, and before you know it, they start to take over and they start to manipulate the situation in a way. So what we're saying here is that there are examples here like Goldman Sachs. The author uses them as an example, where they say, or they went on record as saying, that they'll only invest and partner with companies that have a diverse board, i.e. having females on the board. But the reality is this wokeness, this virtue signalling is all a bit of a game, because these days most corporations have females on the board, have diverse boards anyway. So the risk of them not being able to do what they normally do anyway is virtually zero. But the gains are huge because they're going on record as saying that, hey, look at us, look at how woke we are, look how cool we are. And a lot of other people do the same thing. They do it knowing that it's not going to cost them anything, but the returns and the rewards are huge. So what I've noticed over the years, and I think a lot of us have noticed, is that there's a lot of mixing of business with politics. Now we saw that during the time of the same-sex marriage, companies like Qantas went on record as saying that they were going to do A, B and C. And you just see organisations who really have no business in getting involved in politics, but leveraging politics and using their name and using the wokeness that comes with it to promote themselves, their products, and appear to sparkle on a topic which is trending. Once again, the only reason they attach themselves to these causes is because it's trending, it's cool. You don't see them connecting themselves to conservative causes or conservative purposes. It's all the latest and greatest, what appears to be cool. So this mixing of business and politics is quite dangerous because most corporations, most businesses have got a huge number of stakeholders to serve and to please. But the pressure these days is for them to pick and side and remain with those which are popular, bringing things such as politics into the workplace. I remember working for a top-tier law firm, once again during the time of same-sex marriage, and there was tremendous pressure within that organisation to get on board and support the cause, and anybody who dared share a view which was contrary to the trending view within the organisation would feel threatened. So there's no way in the world you would in any way share conservative Christian values and views for fear of being ridiculed, sidelined, and I guess eventually removed from that work environment. So the last thing this author talks about is how corporations, businesses, countries, political parties are hiding under a false and fake virtue umbrella. They don't believe these things, but they'll just do it because of the benefits that they reap from saying that they're doing what they're doing, because they know that the majority view, the majority popular view, should I say, is the woke view that they're attaching their brands to. Airbnb, for example, the author talks about and says that in China they sold a lot of data to the Chinese Communist Party, and they ignored the human rights abuse. But in order to make money, in order to achieve their own personal ends, they turn a blind eye to certain things, and they turn a big eye to other things. So it's really interesting just to reveal what's going on here with this whole woke party that is going on globally. And you can see what's happening in Russia and in Ukraine. You've got McDonald's, you've got a number of stores closing down in Russia. But at the end of the day, how many stores closed down when America was invading Iraq and Afghanistan? Who dare do something like that? But they know that by picking on Russia, by cornering Russia, I'm not saying that what Russia is doing is right, but what I'm saying is the downside of siding against Russia is minimal, whereas the upside, the woke upside, is huge, and that's why they're doing it, because they know that the losses aren't significant, but the potential gains are a lot more powerful in the long term. So, and as we've seen on social media, we've seen on Instagram, we've seen on Twitter, we've seen on Facebook, corporations sitting behind the scenes there and controlling the narrative through their censorships. So as you can see, There is a lot of money to be made, a lot of power to be gained by being woke and by being on the right side of wokeness, because it gives you a huge updraft. It gives you a huge opportunity to grow and develop and to leverage your products and services and your brand name for little loss. And at the end of the day, you don't have to believe it, just like a typical diplomat. Diplomats are the people who just say things, not that they believe, but just say the things that you want to hear in order to benefit and to weave their magic. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've gone for a little bit of a walk. Talked about a topic which is pretty controversial, but at the end of the day, it's shaping our politics, it's shaping social media, and to hear people attacking church leaders, to hear people attacking the church, to hear people attacking conservative values, and all the things that we've been brought up with, is, I guess, quite harrowing, especially for me. And I often say that all the things that I learnt, all the things that I had passed to me that I knew were absolutely right, I've got people now trying to convince me that it's all wrong. And all the things that I learnt that were absolutely, wrong, people are trying to convince me that they are now right and my own thoughts are wrong. It's just very, very confusing, but not confusing from a value perspective, because we know what's right. We know the things that that drive us. So the point that I'm trying to make is that our children and grandchildren, family and friends, we're all growing up in a world that has a lot of confused values and a lot of confused messaging, with governments that are a popularity contest. They'll just say the things that you want to hear, tag onto the things that are trending, and use that to get their foot in the door, and then they'll go about doing their own thing anyway. So I think I'll finish off there. So thanks very much. This is a tricky topic, a tricky 5am club. As I say, I'm walking along the street. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'll finish off now. So take care and we'll chat again. Bye for now.